We're going to start this, Quito. Thank you for having me in this beautiful city. We all know that greenhouse gas emissions are probably the highest today, meaning this year, and you can see that the world body is talking about it. The same world body, just 3 days ago, started talking about how do we get rid of fossil fuels. I'm so happy when I saw, and I was so happy when I saw this particular news, because for last 25 years, I have been working on this modeling, this policy analysis, to really start looking into how do we go to net zero. So I was so happy, and thank you for everybody who worked tirelessly for that, so that we can start achieving the 1.5 degrees Celsius target that Paris Agreement had. And we need to start moving towards net zero. So I think here we are in a big city. Globally, there are so many cities, and all these cities are contributing nearly 70% of our greenhouse gas emissions. Nonetheless, we all know that climate change impacts are severe, and many of us are seeing it. Many of the cities are seeing it. At the same time, many of the cities are big advocates of doing something on climate change. All these cities that you see here on this particular graph are well equipped to do 100 different things. However, there are cities that are in dark purple and light green, that are in very high rich communities as well as middle to high income communities. These cities are really producing a lot of greenhouse gas emissions for all these years. They are also really big contributors in many different sectors that we have been talking about today here. Now, if everybody, all of us, start going towards net zero by 2050, then we can achieve the target of 1.5 degrees Celsius that Paris agreed. But if not, then we would need to be much higher. For an example, if lower middle income as well as low income countries continue to do that, then it will be 4.5 times the target that we have set. So here, I think we all need to start working in this direction. There are so many things that we can do. I'm sure many of us are working on 100 different things. I think point here is that we still need to do more. And there is so much to do, and we all need to take credible action. Not tomorrow, but today. So I think we all need to get together and start working on this. Ecuador, as a country, has agreed to many of these targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and all. And you can see at the bottom of this particular graph, cities are at the center of all this discussion. We all are at the center of all these discussions. So how do we begin? We need to really start talking about right from the interiors of the buildings to communities and cities, so that we can make our cities healthy, equitable for everybody, and ultimately reach carbon neutrality or even go beyond. So ultimately, our interest is to really talk about regenerative cities. How do we talk about regenerative cities? I'll try to quickly walk you through this whole particular process. This graph is talking about that we need to act everywhere, and each city is at a different level of their development, so that we really need to understand where they are and work with them to work in all these different sectors. These are just a good highlight for you all to understand that we really need to start talking about planning better, implementing better, deploying better, managing our cities better, as well as whatever we learn from this process, bring it back into the planning and designing so that we can really build our cities and communities better. I was helping US Green Building Council in taking many of these ideas into a rating system called LEED for Cities and Communities. And right now, we are working with more than 375 cities and communities. However, when we start looking into doing comprehensively, that's where I can show you some real examples that are making difference today and accelerating solutions. That is the topic of our discussion today. So you can see Siemensstadt in Berlin. We all know Siemens, established in 1897. They want to really put together a lot of people in this Siemensstadt, but right now they're refurbishing it. They're trying to do comprehensive planning, putting all of their technologies in this particular district. They're also trying to do digital twinning so that they are really planning each and every small nut and bolt of the entire district. It's 70 hectares district, and they are trying to do it very comprehensively. This is in Madrid, the north of Madrid. 235 hectares project is comprehensively trying to address all aspects of their urban living. They are also putting in a lot of these systems that are interconnected and integrated. When we talk about integrated planning, we need to talk about ecosystems and services. We need to protect it, restore it, upgrade it, and so on and so forth. This is an example of a community in Guatemala with 10,000 people. You can see they are trying to involve people into the process of all ages, and they are trying to improve each and every inch of their community to really do better over time. A community in Charlotte, North Carolina, you can see here, is trying to bring the same discussion into the process. 1,400 acres project, nearly 10,000 people, and they are trying to really provide access to people for green spaces, trails, and so on and so forth. You can see they are doing a lot of analysis with biodiversity, flora and fauna, and improving it. This another project, as I told you briefly, from Madrid. They are trying to bring the nature back into the city. And you can see that they are trying to do it with the Central Park, the kind of Carolina Park that you have here. This particular project is a social housing project in Colombia, and they are also trying to put nearly 30% of the green spaces aside for people to enjoy. Like you can see here in some of these examples, invite people into this process, and so on and so forth. Resilience is a big part of it. I come from Long Island, New York, and in 2012, during Hurricane Sandy, we had big impacts. This picture is from New Jersey, but Hoboken in New Jersey is trying to put in all these different strategies, green, blue, as well as trying to deploy new ways in which they can store water if at all flooding happens too much. These are some of the examples, as you can see here. Transportation and land use are so much interconnected, and we all know about here in Quito. It is like 60 kilometers long and narrow, and people travel so much. So here, we need to really deploy compact and mixed-use development, transit-oriented development. We need to provide people all the amenities and services within the 15-minute kind of 15-minute distance, 15-minute walkable distance. So we call it design compact mixed-use developments that is transit-oriented. These are just examples from one of our projects. This is also an example from that Madrid project. You can see that they are trying to provide so many services within the walking distance. We also need to provide people with different modes of transportation so that they can use whatever, wherever they want it and however they want it. Quito has put together this fantastic metro. I used it, and it's amazing. But we need to provide more and more such services. You have the bus rapid transit system and other types of buses. We need to convert them into electric so that the pollution, criteria pollution within the city goes down. And we need to provide safe streets for people to walk and commute as well. We also need to provide accessibility to everybody, with people with all kind of abilities. We also need to really not go out in the green fields, but go back into the developed sites, previously developed sites. We call it infield developments, or remediate some of the toxic sites and use them again. Here, such a beautiful city, and you have so many historic monuments here, sites here. We need to protect them, improve them. But we also need to start talking about net zero water or water positive. And you can see here, there are various ways in which we can really recycle, reprocess, and go to net zero or net positive. This is an example from Madrid Nuevo Norte, where they are saving 48% of water. Also, they are saving 12% of energy for that. These are a couple of other examples. This particular project in Songdo, South Korea, is using wetland to really percolate more water in the ground, but also at the same time treating the wastewater and storm water. We also want to use some smart technologies to really go towards net zero water or positive water. It's not only water, but we also need to start talking about energy positive or carbon neutrality. Here in Ecuador, I understand that 95% of electricity comes from hydroelectric and renewable energy. But you also know there are so many power cuts, 2 hours, 3 hours every day. We don't want those kind of things. So we really need to prepare net zero carbon plans like this one in Reno, Nevada. And then, like Songdo, put up a lot of green buildings so that the consumption goes down. At the same time, if at all you can put all buildings that are all electric, put electric transportation and so on and so forth, that is great. And what more? Even banks nowadays are ready to provide green financing. Here in Ecuador, you have banks doing that. All across Latin America, they are doing it. In addition to buildings, green buildings, we really need to start talking about renewable energy, putting them more and more so that we can go to net zero. This is an example of Washington, D.C., where they are buying wind energy from outside, putting a lot of rooftop solar. And this another example is from lower Manhattan. Manhattan is so dense, but again, 110 buildings put up 3.8 megawatt worth of solar rooftops. That's just amazing. We also need to start looking into street lights, electric pumps, whether it's water supply, sanitation, and so on and so forth. Many of our cities have industries within ourselves. We need to work with them as well. Try to use combined heat and power or district heating and cooling, or start using smart grids or microgrids. These are so many other examples. Many of our cities have waste, solid waste, municipal waste as a big issue, big problem. We really need to work with it so that we can go towards zero waste or circular economy. And these are various examples. This is an example from that community in Colombia. You can see, this is from Guatemala, and they are doing so many good things. But again, like water and like energy, we need to start using smart waste management systems as well so that we can improve it. This example is from Songdo, where they are using pneumatic waste removal for the entire 6.5 square kilometer area. Everywhere they have pneumatic waste removal system. But I understand that not many cities or communities can have it, but we can begin somewhere. That is the point here. We can really try to recycle our buildings-related waste and try to put it into infrastructure or recycle it in buildings. This is an example from one of our partners. They are using glass into their used glass into their infrastructure. We also need to start talking about the life cycle of materials, life cycle of their greenhouse gas emissions, where they go, how they go, and so on and so forth. Here, this is an example of just packaging material. We use so much of packaging material. So we really need to start talking about how do we recycle, reprocess, and our producers need to start taking responsibility of all these things. Nonetheless, we need to inform everybody around us. And last but not the least, which is very important for all of us, is about quality of life, social equity. We really need to focus on all these aspects of it so that we are empowering everybody and working with everybody to bring them at the same level that we all are. And that is the point of equity, whether it's in terms of social infrastructure, whether it's in terms of skill development, providing public health. We all saw so much happening in last few years with COVID pandemic happening and all. We really need to start getting back into active lifestyle and many other aspects of our living. Education. We all know with education we can do better. We need to provide same services, same levels to everybody, or at least strive to do that. At the same time, affordability to my pocket and your pocket is very important. So can we make housing, transportation affordable to everybody? Rule of thumb is it should be 45% of or less of your monthly or annual income. Similarly, we also need to start talking about equity all across all of us global people. And we need to really start talking about gender equality, economic equality, social equality, and accessibility to each and everybody. We all need to learn better every day, improve ourselves. So we need to provide similar opportunities to everybody in terms of economic availability, economic opportunity, so that if somebody needs skills for something different, we need to do that and provide those opportunities as well. We have seen that in so many of our cities, communities, there are so many adverse effects happening due to environmental impacts. And we really need to start looking into it. And some of the groups that might have been getting affected badly, adversely than the other groups, then we need to first talk about that group that is getting adversely affected and find out how can we work with them to improve their way of living? How can we reduce the environmental impact or the consequences of that impact to them? We really need to start looking into everybody, all of us, women, children, elderly, and other vulnerable groups. Last but not the least, we need to really start working with inviting everybody into this dialogue. If you are doing it, I'm doing it, but we need to really bring everybody onto the same platform. So what WWF is doing, or what all the organizers are doing here, trying to really bring these topics on this particular discussion, it's a great way for us to begin the dialogue, start talking to people, inviting them into this particular process. I'll just end with one of these examples in St. Paul, Minneapolis region. That's a 112 acres golf course previously, right in the center of the city. It is a brownfield because the pesticides and all that they were using had a high level of mercury. Now they are trying to remediate the whole 112 acres worth of community. But they want to really provide 1,000 jobs and affordable housing to 1,000 people, meaning 1,000 households. So that is where they have done a lot of public engagement, a lot of processes in which they are talking to their neighbors, talking to the people that would be in that particular community, and say, what do you want? How do you want this community to be? And they are trying to bring those suggestions back into their planning processes. They have created numerous scenarios. But they said, let's pick this scenario because that is trying to address all of our priorities. Now, this is in the city center. You can see that purple patch. That is light industrial. So you can see that it is possible for us to provide affordable housing, affordable jobs, and invite people into our processes. This particular community is trying to go net zero energy, and hopefully they'll be able to do it. Right now, they are also trying to make it economically viable as well. With that, you know that we need to provide equal rights and equal opportunities to everybody, and human rights is a big discussion. So we need to really provide that process, that opportunity to everybody. However, the last message that I want to put here across is that there is no quick solution. Genuinely, there is no quick solution. There is no silver bullet. However, each and every community will have their own process, their own unique journey, like each and every individual of us are sitting here all across the globe. So point is that there is a very fine balance between us creating communities that are just and equitable, inclusive or exclusive. It's up to us whether we want to invite everybody on the same table to talk with us, work with us in this process to move beyond. Thank you all.